Hello, welcome to Real Estate Stories brought to you by Rondon Real Estate. In today's story, we're going to talk about something that happened to me on a showing. Uh, it was about 20 years ago. I'll have to check the archives and see when it actually happened, but I think it was right around 20 years ago. And it was a showing that could have ended up being my very last showing. And you'll find out why that's the case by the end of the story. So I had picked up a new client. It was a doctor and his family. Really, really nice family. And they were from out of state. They were moving here and looking for a house for their family. And because it was a doctor and because they were looking for, a family home, they were willing to spend some money. So it was a really good client to have. And they were really good people too, so it made it, overall a pretty good experience working with them. But it was the winter, and they had to find something, and so whenever anything came up, we were ready to go out and look at it if it met their criteria. And this particular house, it was out in Pleasant Prairie, and it was a really cold wintry day. It was snowing. It had been snowing. There wasn't a ton of visibility, but you could see. But if you were driving in it, it was a little difficult. Real cold, real miserable conditions. And the house was a really interesting house. It was a custom built house. It was very large, a lot of square footage, a lot of upgrades, really neat floor plan, and they had a pool in the back, an in-ground pool, obviously covered up. It was wintertime, but they also had a guest house in the back, and the guest house doubled as like a pool house. And so we walked through the house and checked everything out. We spent a lot of time there. They kind of liked the house at first. Saw the upstairs, saw the basement, and then it was time to go out and check out the outside. And not only was it cold and it had been snowing, but we had a lot of accumulation on the ground. Probably anywhere 6 to 8 inches of snow. So when you stepped in it, you're leaving a big impression. You're leaving a big footprint. And if you're not wearing boots, it can be pretty uncomfortable because you're going to get, snow in your socks and in your shoes. And the doctor and I decided to go out and check out the pool, check out the rear yard, and check out the guest house. And the missus and the children decided to stay behind, and they were going to just hang out while we went out and checked out the outside. So we went out there and looked around a little bit and made our way to the guest house and the pool house. Got inside of there, we sparked some sort of conversation and probably spent a little more time in there than we should have. It wasn't a very large space to really look at, but turned around and made our way back towards the house, and we noticed that the doctor's wife and his kids were jumping up and waving their arms, and they were acting all frantic like they'd seen a ghost or something. And this was a little unsettling. We're like, what's going on? And so we got closer to the door, and she opens up the door and she says, "Get in quick." She said there was a giant black cat out in the yard that when you guys got into the guest house, it walked right past you. And I said, "Black cat? What do you mean?" And she said, a cougar or a panther, like a giant black panther. And the visibility was a little bit affected, but I mean, you could still see from the back patio door all the way to the guest house. So, it wasn't like she was imagining seeing something. So I'm thinking maybe she saw a large dog. And I said, "Are you sure? It wasn't a dog or something?" She said, "No, it was a black panther." And so the doctor and I decided to go back out and check out the outside. We looked around, and made sure that we weren't going to get attacked by anything. And lo and behold, there was a trail, a noticeable trail of footprints left in the snow, large cat footprints, like from a cougar or a panther. And they were fresh and had been snowing. So had this happened the day before or whatever, we would have seen the footprints and saw the trail of prints and decided to get back in the house as quick as possible. And we ended up leaving there, and I found out a couple of days later that someone in that area had been keeping at least one large black panther as a pet, and it had gotten loose. And while we were there, it had walked right by us. Thinking about it, it's a little unsettling because that panther walked right by where we were, and it had to have known we were there. I don't know if maybe it was checking us out after we got in there. I mean, I didn't see it. I looked around after we saw the trail of footprints. But, it was snowing. It was cold. The thing had gotten away from its normal surroundings. So, I mean, it was probably confused, disoriented. I mean, that could have very well, like I said in the beginning, had things gone a different way, that could have been my very last showing. So that was quite an experience, and it's not one that happens every day, obviously. I mean, we live in southeastern Wisconsin. You don't see black panthers up here. So that was, that was something that I'll always remember. Ended up selling them a house. Didn't buy that house. But ended up buying a house closer to the lake. I think they wanted to be away from the possibility of large wild animals. I'm not sure. But anyways, thank you for stopping by. We'll see you again next time.